Missing Children SA says the child goes missing every 5 hours in South Africa. And now this fact was brought into sharp focus with the death of 8-year-old Ayanda Van Aswegen in the Western Cape last week. Now, she was laid to rest on Sunday. Although about 2/3 of missing children are eventually found, around 23% are lost to trafficking, kidnapping, or worse, found dead. Now, Bianca Van Aswegen is National Coordinator of Missing Children SA. She joins us now via Skype to take us through some of the precautionary measures that some parents can take and also to help us make sense of these startling figures. Bianca, thanks very much for your time. Welcome to Newsroom Africa. You know, I'm hoping to start by honing in on the most recent event, of course, that we know of, which was the murder of 8-year-old Ayanda Van Aswegen. At her funeral service on Sunday, there was a sort of flurry of condemnation, and rightly so, and that certainly has its place. I get a sense, though, that we keep saying the same things and yet are still faced with the very same issues around the violence meted against children. Who from your work do you think is dropping the ball?
Yes, no, we definitely have a major problem of our children being or actually going missing and found brutally murdered and raped. So it's not just us, but it's the police, it's our communities, it's our government. All of us need to stand together to stop this.
And what does that look like? I mean, I imagine we need to go a bit further than just having those type of proclamations on these kind of programs at funeral services after the fact, having government officials issue statements. What does, on a practical level, does standing against some of this violence actually mean?
Well, there's a lot of things that we look at when it comes to children going missing and actually being found deceased. So what we're trying to do is to educate our communities, educate our children at our schools, to actually try and get them to keep themselves safe and to have this number of children being found deceased lowered at the end of the day. So there's a lot of things that can be done, especially with our parents, teaching the children how to keep themselves safe, going down to our beaches, going to our shopping malls, walking from and to school in the mornings and the afternoons, having our school implement some safety measures on keeping our children inside the school grounds and not having them stand outside when it comes to waiting for the parents. So there's a lot of small things that can be implemented to actually keep our children safe.
And I'd imagine these things have been implemented for years now. I mean, you know, those to me sound like even intuitive type of reactions that any sort of responsible parent would have for their children. Which does bring me to the question, I mean, you know, are we seeing an unprecedented rise in the kind of violence meted against children over the past few months? Or are we just getting better at bringing these to the fore in the ways that we have over the weeks?
I think what's happened also, a lot of things have gotten to the media that previously haven't. So there's more exposure around the fact that children have been found murdered and raped. So a lot of the communities are only aware of this now. So a lot of times it hasn't even reached the media and people are unaware of what's going on. So there's a lot of things that are very concerning of what the people that are being released, in the instance of a few cases we've seen lately of parolees that has been released. And also within our communities, we've got sexual offenders that are not even known about. And I think that is also stuff that needs to be looked at and known by the communities that is of a big concern.
I hear what you're saying about parents needing to be equipped about how to take care of their children. That would be the best solution in the event that, you know, some of the children are not actually violated by their parents themselves, which really does make things a bit more difficult, doesn't it? I mean, when the people tasked with taking care of the children are the ones who end up being the perpetrators. In fact, statistically, we find that in most instances, children are more likely to be violated by people they know.
Unfortunately, yes. A lot of times the perpetrator is actually known to the family or to the child. So what we always say to children is that even if it is a family member or a family friend, you know, there are some signs to look out for, and especially for the parents to see the red flags that they need to notice when something is wrong, especially when a person gives a child too much attention, inappropriate comments. And also never expect of a child to give a person a hug or a kiss by greeting them if they do feel uncomfortable with that certain person. So a lot of times we see that the perpetrator is known, as I said, to the child or to the parents. And it's not just stranger danger like we used to teach our children, and we need to teach them the little red flags that wave when there's a family member or a family friend that might pose a danger to them.
Yeah, and speaking about changing tact in the ways that we sort of, I guess, help children become empowered to stave off these kind of incidents, I'm also interested to speak about how we can change tact in how we treat the outrage that follows these kind of moments, right? So we've seen in the past, right, mass mobilizations in the wake of Ayanda Nyathi. She's a UCT student who was killed at that post office. In this instance as well, I mean, we've seen a lot of people rightly enraged by what's happened to Tasneem Van Wyk. But are we able to sort of capitalize on that and allow it to materialize in actionable change the ways we should? Because I certainly get the sense that we don't.
I do agree. With the cases that we've seen such uproar and marches happen, unfortunately we see it happen for a month or two, everybody's outraged about the situation, and then it just dies down again. So we as a whole of South Africa need to stand up and keep on fighting this fight that we are for our women and children and everybody that is going missing and brutally raped in our country. It's not just a month or two that noise needs to be made. It needs to be fought all the time. And every single missing child needs the media attention that all the others have gotten. And what makes one child more special than the other? And they all need the same media attention at the end of the day. And we all need to stand up and fight for each and every one of them.
And the sad reality is that, a lot of the children that go missing, sadly, are just never found. So there isn't even closure of being able to sort of undertake some kind of burial. And that perhaps highlights issues around human trafficking, right? The fact that, the bodies are never found because the children are not in the country anymore. Take us through how prevalent this is, as we stand in 2020 in South Africa. Are we at least winning the fight against issues like human trafficking insofar as children are concerned?
Unfortunately, human trafficking is not just a problem in South Africa. It's a worldwide problem, and it's getting worse every single year. Now, human trafficking is a very broad spectrum when we look at why people or children are taken for human trafficking purposes. We have our sexual exploitation when it comes to human trafficking. It's all even linked to our organ trafficking. But yes, we are fighting the fight for human trafficking and having the border posts, our airports, all our harbors double-checked every single day to make sure that human trafficking is stopped. But unfortunately, like I said, it's not just a major problem in South Africa, but it's a worldwide problem. So not just us as South Africa need to stand up against human trafficking, but the whole world does.
All right, thanks very much for bringing us into the picture. We'll have to leave it there. Bianca Van Aswegen is the National Coordinator of Missing Children South Africa. Do appreciate your time.